Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Snap Judgments. Look at that. It's 9:29. I'm early on being late. So, you know, there we have it. Um, Listen, the NFL might be headed towards an 18 game season. Almost certainly is, actually. There's a major shakeup in the independent sports media world involving PFF. But first, let's talk about this story with Travion Henderson circling around right now. Um, Look, there was a breaking story. Jaden Ivey of the Bulls was waived after he spoke out against the NBA Pride Night. Um, Basically, it was against his religion, essentially, which it is, So, um, and Travion Henderson posted in support of that a Bible verse. So naturally there are people out there that are, very offended by all of this, and then there are people out there that are in support of this, and there are, all kinds of differing and very strong opinions on the topic, obviously, because that is the world we live in. Excuse me, I really need to quit smoking. That's happening soon. Um, Listen, here's the deal though. The NBA has their Pride nights. Jared Ivey doesn't like it. He says something about it. The Bulls then fire him essentially for saying that thing. Um, and Travion Henderson's now spoken out, and people have. I saw someone speculating on Twitter, will the Patriots release him now? No, they will not. Okay, this is a team that basically the whole team comes together in a prayer circle before the game. Like Travion Henderson, every time he's interviewed, talks about his belief in God and how it helps him and leads him and that sort of thing. This should not surprise anybody, okay? And I cannot imagine the team or Vrabel being, oh, the team or Vrabel being getting behind releasing him over something like this. The NFL has never been super pride friendly or whatever. Who was the guy, Michael Sam, that got drafted, and then he was pretty much flamed out of the NFL almost immediately. Carl Nassib in 2021, he had come out, and his career ended pretty much right after. I don't think he signed another contract after that. The NFL is not the most friendly to that community, and look, that's just fine with me. Like, I don't particularly care. I'm neither a gay guy nor am I a religious guy. Obviously, I am uh, all about free speech. Like, if something offends you, tough shit. That is your problem. I absolutely do not care. Look, I'm a guy. I decided today that I would wear my two most offensive things. So the no fucks given hat, and my dick has led me to places I wouldn't go with a gun shirt, which my girlfriend hates. I get that. But I think it's hilarious. And other people think these things are offensive. Look, I think these sorts of things just encapsulate who I am and what I'm about. Um, you know, I like just be who you are. I might not agree with everything you say. But the fact that you should be able to say it, absolutely. And that doesn't include necessarily every bit of free speech, right? Speech is occasionally infringed upon because of safety sort of things, right? Yelling fire in a crowded theater, um, inciting riots, those sorts of things. I get that to an extent, but generally speaking, I'm not a believer in canceling people because of their opinion. Um, if they're good enough to play, if Jared Ivey is good enough to play basketball, and I haven't covered basketball long enough to know even who Jared Ivey is, to be honest with you. But I don't know if he's any good or if he's not. Look, if they're willing to waive him over a Twitter post, It tells me it's probably they're looking for a reason to waive him and just decided to go with that. Um, I don't think the NBA is like the most, rainbow friendly crowd like the WNBA maybe, but the NBA, I'm not aware of any openly gay players or any embracing of that sort of thing from NBA locker rooms, NBA players. Like it is what it is. These are highly masculine environments, full of people who. that's that's fair. I love you, though, sweetheart. Um, I mean, the NBA. Like, okay, the people running the PR wings and like Adam Silver and guys like that are like that, but they aren't the NBA. They're the admin support for the NBA, right? They're the guys in suits. They're replaceable, right? The NBA is, I mean, the players in the locker rooms. I'm unaware of any openly gay NBA players. I've never found that entire culture to be super like gay friendly. Dating all the way back to like the entire time I've been alive. I'm 44. I'll be 45 this year. Um, I've never found either of those communities to be like super gay friendly. And again, I'm not a gay guy, so I don't really care. I don't see why it matters really. Like, but I do understand why like guys in a locker room might be worried about that, I guess. Um, Rudy Gobert, I don't think he is openly gay. Is he openly gay? If he is, I missed that story. Rudy Gobert, according to Google search, has not publicly identified as gay. Information regarding his personal life is generally private. He has not made any public statements. Um, yeah, I don't see anything. I know uh, there's a whole like cartoon series that depicts him as such on Facebook. It's kind of funny. I forget what it's called, but maybe it's like honestly I don't know what the page is called, but I see it all the time, and they have a lot of ridiculous things. But I do see like the only actual bit of like kind of news that I see are is him having to apologize for liking a transphobic tweet of uh of Elon Musk. Yeah, Dwayne Wade's kid is yeah. But that again has nothing to do with that. That has nothing to do more to do with the NBA than Magic Johnson's kid, who's also, you know, uh at any rate, I just wouldn't expect a whole lot of backlash for Travion Henderson, I guess, is the overall point. You know, he's welcome to say what he wants. He's not going to bother me. So that's where I stand on it. Moving along, because this topic really doesn't need to give that much friggin' airtime. Um, the PFF situation, okay? Um, they were acquired by Teamworks. Um, Teamworks is a operating system for sports is what it's called. It's powering it, or the official thing, powering more than 7,000 elite sports organizations globally. Um, but they acquired PFF. And what they did was they acquired the enterprise business, just the business of business, right? Because PFF does a lot of like providing analytics for pro sports teams, for college sports teams, etc. Teamworks acquired all of that business, but what they did not do is acquire the media half, the podcasts, all of that. Basically, that entire wing was just cut. And so all of those guys, hit free agency essentially yesterday. Everybody pretty much that you've ever seen on camera for PFF now is no longer attached to PFF, except for Chris Collinsworth, who's remaining in an advisory role for Teamworks, which probably really doesn't mean much of anything. Um, I remember watching and thinking Austin Gale, he was the first guy that I remember going out the door. I think he went to the Athletic, maybe. Um, but I remember it was like, oh, he had an exciting offer, etc. And then he was the first one out the door. And then Connor, Sam, and Steve and Mike, all right in the same time window. All of a sudden, it was just Trey there. And then they had the two new kids, Dalton and Max, who I was never really a big fan of, to be honest. Like Dalton always had the worst Patriots mock drafts. Like he just had no friggin' clue what the Patriots were thinking. Um, and the other guy I just didn't see enough of. Um, Max, the one kid there. But I wasn't a big fan of the replacements. I liked the original guys a lot better. And they all kind of moved on. Like Mike Renner ended up at CBS doing some things, and he kind of does some things around other places. Connor and Trey have NFL SC that they started that's grown very quickly. I mean, I watch those guys do live streams, and like they're like paying rent on just the like cash button. Like I'm watching those guys take in like $1,000, $2,000 in a live stream. That's an hour. It's wild how much those guys have grown from like NFL SE itself started a year ago, I think it was. Um, but those guys uh kind of got into this with PFF like a few years ago, and they were kind of just, like dudes in their basement or whatever. And now they're like money making machines on their own, like without PFF. Um, Steve and Sam, they separated also. They started their own Check the Mic podcast, is what it's called. Also grew pretty quickly, not quite as exponentially as NFL SC, I don't think. They're not quite as popular, but they're doing their own thing. They're fine. I think that I would expect to see Dalton, Max, those other guys probably end up with, uh, you know, one of those groups, or maybe joining other similar productions, CBS. I've seen a lot of like chat sports and places like that are out there like, hey, if you're an ex PFF employee, da 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 da. But I did think this Mike Renner tweet on the topic was worth posting. And I cut it up into two posts so we could read it in its entirety. Um, and it just said, got word earlier that today is effectively the last day of PFF's consumer product as we know it, with mass layoffs amid their sale to Teamworks. A couple weeks ago, I walked through the PFF office one last time before it closed for good to reminisce with former coworkers and play one last game of beer die on the roof. I came across an item collecting dust on the wall that I found incredibly telling. The PFF MVP belt that used to be given out every year, but hasn't been updated since 2021. That coincided with the year that Neil Hornsby was forced out of the company he founded. His departure was followed by Austin Gale and Eric Eager leaving the following year, the leaders of PFF's consumer and analytics products, respectively. I often think back to those times with equal parts nostalgia and regret. Nostalgia for when PFF was truly the most passionate football company in America. Say what you want about the grades and the stats, but there was no company outside of football teams that cared more about ball circa 2021. Unfortunately, PFF operated as if that was a given for the industry and made the common error of valuing outside talent and new revenue sources, i.e., the PFF app, as more important than the people that got them to where they were. Excuse me. It's to my great shame that I didn't advocate more forcefully for those guys in negotiations on their way out. To make things worse, I then proceeded to take the cowardly way out myself. After numerous disputes with management that spring, I left the week before the 2023, that's cut off for me, 2023 NFL draft with no job lined up. Instead of rallying the troops, and I have to remove this banner, hide, and becoming a leader at the company, I ran away and I regret it to this day. The passion I had felt only a couple years earlier was gone by then. The story of PFF is just that, a company that lost its passion. Instead of empowering those who cared the most, they often stifled them and took them for granted until they checked out or left. There's no substitute in any organization for people who will do whatever it takes to get the job done. And there was a time where that described every single employee at PFF. Even after seeing all the negative effects of their ability to retain employees that truly give a shit, they again showed even more guys that fit that description the door today. I still believe in the ethos of PFF: better analysis, smarter fans. It's a brand that can very easily be revived if they start putting people first again. Until then, though, the half decade long tailspin will only continue. I mean, that was, again, I just really thought that that tweet deserved some airtime because it was incredibly honest, you know, self-reflective, and self-critical, um, but honest and just you know, a real view inside of what he must have been thinking at that time, at the time yesterday when everything was announced. And, you know, PFF, it's fallen off over the years. It was never perfect. It's impossible to be perfect at anything, let alone this thing. Um, but they'd fallen off this past year or two. And you could see the effects of it in the grades, in the analysis, in the depth and the level of analysis. Um, And it'll be interesting to kind of see where this goes. There's obviously kind of a vacuum to be filled in the industry now. PFF had 230,000 subscribers, put out videos constantly. I mean, they covered most college games every week, previewed and reviewed every NFL game, set out stats. A lot of people use them as their go-to for grading, for snap counts, for analysis, for all kinds of things. Um, you know, people pay money to follow this brand. People had paid a year subscription, probably a month or two ago, even. I mean, people get into the draft cycle in January, February. I bet there are people who in January, February signed up for a 12-month subscription at PFF, and now 2 months in, you know, are wondering, man, they paid a lot per month for something that's not going to happen anymore, huh? At any rate, the last newsworthy thing that is Patriots relevant right now that's hitting the airwaves is the Robert Kraft comments on the 18 game season. Now, the 18 game season is going to happen at some point in time, right? There's too much smoke. There, you know, all the owners are in favor of it. They're starting to come out publicly in favor of it. With the Ursay daughter that owns the Colts now, I forget her first name, but she came out in favor of it. And Robert Kraft just spoke about it yesterday and basically said he would be in favor of it under these three conditions: that they remove one preseason game. So now there are only two, not three. They add a second bye week, and that all 32 teams have an international game every year. Um, Look, my personal take is that I don't think that the product has gotten better with the expansion of the season and cutting down the preseason, paired with like the kind of concessions that the players or that the owners made in the CBA regarding practicing and those sorts of things. Like cutting down on the prep side hasn't made the quality of the play on the field better at all. I would argue that there are some troubling trends out there in terms of like positions that matter. Okay. Look at offensive line. Like, there's never been a harder time to find starting offensive line players. And I've heard, like, I was listening to a podcast recently. Oh, man, I can't remember who it was, but it was someone who was like an ex offensive line player. It might have been Chris Long. It might have been, um, I listen to a lot of these, the Bussin' with the Boys guys. Um, I really can't remember who it was, but there was one recently, and he was talking about the impact of like not having that time preseason to kind of gel together as a unit, how we've seen that impact offensive line play. And I think that, also I just kind of feel like you see it on a lot of levels. And I don't think cutting down the prep time is the answer and then adding in more time, and it almost makes the regular season feel like it matters less too. Um, so I'm not sure that like this is going in a good direction. I'm not sold on it. A second bye week too. Like I understand the NFL wants to dominate the entire calendar. Okay. They want to be a 12-month event, right? And you can't blame them for that. But I think that the pursuit of that sometimes takes away from the quality of what they're putting out there, and, it counteracts, you're chasing the the crowd or kinda like the greater middle, and you lose your core base, right? And I mean, I think over the course of my lifetime, like, we've seen that in a big way with the NFL. I mean, eliminating hits, um, all of the things that they've done to that end, in the name of player safety, which, like, hot take, look, if you choose to play in the NFL, it's not that friggin' safe. So, like, but you get all the benefits that come with it, right? You're rich, you're famous, you're celebrated, you know, gorgeous women throw themselves at you, like whatever it is, like all of these things. You have crazy parties. You can walk into places, and you know you don't have to wait in line. You get the nicest section. You get service. You get free stuff all the time. You get you know you're treated like a celebrity wherever you go for like most of your life too. If you're like halfway decent at the thing. Um, so I don't feel bad for the trade-off. Like, right, that's the trade-off you made, right? You coulda gone and sold insurance and sat behind a desk and not run headfirst into 350-pound men f for a paycheck, but you decided that you wanted to run headfirst into those guys. So the risks and the rewards match each other, and I just don't care about that stuff, at all. But, I think that kinda trying to cater towards the middle doesn't, uh it doesn't help the product. Sorry, I was reading the comment section. I have not heard that about Ray Allen either. I mean, Ray Allen, I think, is married, dude. But I would say that if he only did it after, no, Ray Allen is not gay. Again, no, that's just not a thing. Why is it every time I look at this? Uh, he said he doesn't have an issue with gay people. This is a May 2024. Um, he doesn't have an issue with gay people. He didn't expect Tim Hardaway to come up with harsh anti-gay comments, which Tim Hardaway did, and that doesn't surprise me. Uh, he was surprised by Hardaway's comments. All they care about is a guy who comes in and does his job. Has a problem with men underperforming. He doesn't give a shit about. Let's see. There are 3 former NBA players who have come out as gay. Jason Collins, I remember him. Isaac Humphries, I don't know who that is. John Amici, I've heard that name anyway. Like when he was playing. But all right, I guess. I mean, I don't think those guys came out afterwards, too, right? Enough that I know they came out afterwards. Who's Isaac Humphries? He's an Australian. He plays for the Adelaide 36ers. What the fuck are the 36ers? I mean, obviously, that's got to be. Okay, he played in Orlando. Sorry, this is not the best TV I've ever done. But to be fair, it's not TV. Oh, he played in 5 games for Atlanta. He's 21 when he was 21 years old. Now he's 28. Okay, so yeah, former player also. So I mean, I honestly like that kind of supports what I'm saying because it's like when they leave the NBA, then they'll say, okay, no, they were not. No, Collins brothers from Stanford. I don't know who that is. If you're talking about Jason Collins, no, that was after for sure. But I mean, that's kind of like once they leave the league, okay, they'll say, yeah, but otherwise, not really. You know, again, this is not surprising. Like, none of these actual players, like the actual teams, are super like friendly about that sort of thing. It's not the most accepting culture in the world. It just isn't. Like, they're great at basketball though, and that's what we're watching. Like, why do we care about any of the other stuff? I don't understand. I mean, I'm not watching the basketball that much anymore. I don't really care for the NBA that much anymore, to be honest. It's just harder for me to watch than it used to be. Because I just don't like it was all three. It's all 3-pointers and free throws, and I'm just not a fan. At any rate, just wrapping up the 18 game season thing. This is something that's going to happen at some point in time. LeBron ruined it. LeBron did not. Steph Curry ruined it, if anything. The 3-pointer absolutely ruined the NBA. For me, it's all it is 3-pointers and foul shots. And like Steph Curry just demolished this league for me. LeBron I'm not a LeBron fan, but I don't like hate him either. Like he's fine. He's a good player. Not top 5 for me. Probably like 7th. LeBron was never a load management guy. Like, and he was a good defender. Like, Christ, one of his best plays was that chase down block. Like, that was what he was known for. One of the things he was known for earlier in his career was those chase down blocks that, like, it's hard to get away from him, dude. Like, he is a good player. Again, I don't think he's top 5 all time. I mean, he's probably top 7. I think I have 7, 6, something like that all time. Now, people will think that's disrespectful. I think that's an incredible amount of respect. Oh God, my top 10 is like, I'd have to think about it for a moment. I had it written down at one point in time. Okay, I have Jordan, then Bill, then Kareem. That's my honest. Jordan, Bill, Kareem, Magic, Bird, LeBron, Kobe, fucking Hakeem, Tim Duncan, and I think I have Oscar Robertson 10. I don't have Wilt 5. How do you not have Bill over Wilt? That's nonsense. That's a nonsense list. Bill spanked Wilt's teams every year. Bill won 11 out of 13 titles when he was in the NBA, and Wilt was in the NBA at the same time playing the same friggin' position. That is a nonsense list. Bill hasn't even appeared on it yet, but Wilt is on there. Wilt was a great, I just don't understand how you would like hate LeBron but love Wilt. Wilt was the 60s version of LeBron. He was a great individual talent, but a shit teammate that cost teams opportunities at titles pretty much every year. And he had weird, like, little idiosyncrasies and shit like that like he never fouled out of a game, which is a weird stat that basically meant that he didn't try on defense for the last 2 or 3 minutes of most games he was in, because he'd have four fouls, be waiting on the fifth, and he'd just bail out on defense all the friggin' time. But that's why I have Bill too. Ultimately, the goal is to win, and that's what he did. So Michael 1, Bill 2, Kareem 3, Magic 4, Bird 5, Kobe 6, LeBron 7, Hakeem, Duncan, and yeah, I think Oscar Robertson was my 10. I don't know if Oscar Robertson was for sure my 10, but I didn't have any like LeBron's the only current player on my top 10. Yeah, Jerry West isn't bad. It's wild that Bill's still not on that list. You have 2 players that won less than Bill Russell, but played in the same era as Bill Russell, and not on your top 10. That's wild. Wild Bill Russell hate. I don't get it. My goodness. That's just, oh, man, that is hard to deal with. Oh, that's fucking crazy. All right, that invalidates that entire list at 40. That's nuts. All right. Anyway, and with that ridiculous list, 40. That's foolishness. All right. Let's see. Bill Russell at 40 is just, that's awful. Awful, awful, awful take. My goodness, that's a terrible take. That take makes me want to drink. And I don't drink. I don't have a smoke though. Because I try not to smoke on this channel, but at the end of the day, you get Bill Russell at 40, that's a great reason to smoke. Terrible, terrible, terrible take. Jesus. Wow. 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 All right. Anyway, the one last thing I wanted to touch on with the Patriots here is they have some recent announced visits. So they've got local pro day, or sorry, here, let's scroll up a little bit more, because pro days have been updated in kind of a big way. I mean, there's a bunch of players that they met with at the pro day since the last time I talked about this. Because I had down to, I think I had Jeremiah Wright on that last list. But Jeremiah Wright at Auburn, he's a guy I talked about. I really liked him at the Senior Bowl. Ryan Massesso at Massachusetts, I honestly don't know him. Greg Crippen at Michigan. Sean Williams, a safety at Dartmouth. Noah Barrett, edge player at St. Olaf. I've never even heard of the school, let alone the player. Nasir Bowers, a cornerback at Toledo. That's like the third Toledo cornerback they've met with too. Like, they really like the Toledo guys. Virtual meetings with linebacker Khalil Jacobs of Missouri and quarterback Sawyer Robertson of Baylor. That's an interesting one to me. He should be available in the 6th, 7th round. So I think that's interesting. The local pro days, I think these might have been included on that list, but Brady Olson, quarterback from Central Connecticut State. Offensive tackle Ryan Massesso, just talked about him. Greg Crippen just talked about him too. 30 visits. I know we had already talked about most of these, if not all of them. Caden McDonald, Zion Young, Jeremiah Redigan, and Max Ihenacor are the last additions to the list. We saw clips of Vrabel working with Ihenacor, which have been, retweeted and made a lot of. I don't know if there's something to be made a lot of with that, because I know that I heard reports that he was doing the same thing at the BC Pro Day. Working with Jude Bowery and other players, like very hands-on, like Mike Vrabel is. That's just who he is, and how he interacts with players. So, like, I don't know that necessarily like the act of doing that for him is that big a deal. That I would make that big a deal out of it anyway. But if he was impressed by like the hands-on work, obviously, like we had heard all the stuff about Will Campbell last year, when Will Campbell knocked Mike Vrabel on his ass when they got hands on each other at the pro day or visit. And that's kind of when Mike Vrabel was like, hell yeah, this is my guy. And that's, ergo the term Vrabel guy was born, right? But I didn't see Ian Acord knock Mike Vrabel on his ass, so I don't know if that means anything. But yeah, something to think about anyway, I guess, at Ian Acor. I do think he's a consideration at 31. And I think, honestly, we're going to go over some mock draft scenarios right now. I'm actually pulling up the simulator right now as I speak, because we're going to do some of these and look at the options, right? I think that offensive tackle is probably something you should look at in the first round, because tight end in round 2 would be high. I feel like Bill Russell is Dennis Rodman. God, that's such a terrible take, dude. Seriously, terrible. How did Wilt triple him in scoring nightly? Because Wilt only cared about scoring, and Bill realized the whole point of the game is to win championships. That's the point. Win games, not score baskets, win games. Okay. It's like saying, somebody had more passing yards, so they're the better quarterback than Tom Brady or something. No, Tom Brady. No, it's not the same as Rodman. That's such a terrible take, dude. Jesus Christ. It's the worst Bill Russell take I've ever heard in my life. My goodness, that's bad. Anyway, so getting back into this mock draft, that is the worst Bill Russell take I've ever heard in my life. Let's share this screen. God, we do not stand for Bill Russell disrespect here. All right, let's get this screen up. Bear with my connection. It's raining here and it always hates me. Anyway, but look, the offensive tackle class, it's just kind of weird this year. It's kind of, there are prospects worth taking from like 1 to like 35 or so, depending on how long Ian Acor lasts and Blake Miller last. Those are the two guys that are kind of like 25 to 35. You got Caden Proctor in there too, probably. But there's not a whole lot projected from like 35 to, I don't know, 90 or so. Kind of the top 100 kind of for tackles kind of ends at 35-ish. You get to Demetrius Crownover kind of on round 3. That's kind of the next place you get. So let's kind of explore a couple of scenarios here. And what we're going to do, I'm going to resume this draft right now. And we're going to run down and see who's available. And we'll do one where we take an offensive tackle here, and we'll do one where we do not. So just right off the bat, right here, look, Max Ihenekor is there for us. All right. So we're going to take him in round one, and we're going to see who's available for us here at Edge in round two. Now, right off the board, Kamari Ramsey off the board, Mike Washington Jr., another guy I think they could target off the board. You see these two guys. Now, Caleb Tiernan, he might project as a guard. He might not work out in the NFL, to be honest, because he might not work a tackle. And if he doesn't work a tackle, he's going to be hard to put a guard. We talked about that this week with Newt yesterday. And then Demetrius Crownover, I mean, sneaking into the second round. And that's going to be about it for like the next, I don't know how many picks, 90. Drew Shelton is the next ranked guy. So another 30 picks go by basically before there's someone worth taking, according to the consensus board here on BFSN. And they're all kind of similar in terms of like range of offensive tackle at very least. So here on the second round, we'll see what's available to us at edge. Now, you see our Mason Thomas there. I think this is a reasonable range to get him. Derek Moore, Joshua Josephs, DDS. This is still early for Romello Height or Anthony Lucas for me. Jay Sean Barham, too. I could see Barham in the third round or Kieran Crawford in the third round. I'd prefer to get an R. Mason Thomas in the third round, but let's see what else we got on here. Do we need wide receiver? Maybe. And there are some guys there, Ted Hurst, Jacoby Lane, Bryce Lance. Do we need tight end? We do. But is there a guy we want there? Let's see where. Oh, wait. Is this one of those that has, what's his name, way down? No. Oh, Oscar Delp. There we go. At 40. So he went at 40. So in this, if you want him, you've got to take him at 31. That's not something I would be willing to do. Again, as I covered earlier this week, I definitely have medical concerns about Oscar Delp. Do I think it's cool that he's, able to run and compete with that broken foot? Yes. Do I think it's a great thing long term? Probably not. I think this is high to take a guard, but I do like Keelan Rutledge. So let's go with edge in the second round. We'll take R. Mason Thomas, and we'll see what's available to us in the third round. Yeah, Tiernan has a longer wingspan than Campbell by 2 inches. Glad we got past that awful Bill Russell take. All right. Round 3. Here we are. Let's take a look at the wide receivers available. Zachariah Branch, Malachi Fields, but ranked at 133. I bet we could get him at 125 if we sat, huh? Max Clare, he's not a bad option. Joe Royer, talked about him earlier this week with Newt. Jude Bowery, he's a guy that they got hands on, but we already went Max Ihenekor in this. So we don't have a need to take a tackle right now. Right now, we're probably looking for a wide receiver, a tight end, maybe another edge even. That wouldn't be the worst idea on the planet. Go back-to-back edge. But I do think someone like Jay Sean Barham later would be nice. Mason Rager down there, you can see he would be nice. Let's take a look at the overall board again, see who's falling here. We've got a number of cornerback prospects, right? Julian Neal is not locked. 6'2", press man. We need a third cornerback. I don't hate it. It would be rough to take 2 players in the top 3 rounds that are probably going to be backups, but you've got to fill out the depth on this team. Sometimes you just go the way the board falls. And here's a player I like too, Katron Allen at running back. I wouldn't be surprised to see them invest in running back here. Like I said, Mike Washington Jr. was a target. They've really invested in the run game heavily. Um, all right, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and go with Julian Neal. I haven't taken him for us. We need a third cornerback. I think that makes sense. All right. Well, we need that third safety. I see him right here. I'm going to go Bud Clark. And we talked about would Barham still be here? And Malachi Fields, we talked about also. All right, Barham is there. Malachi Fields is not there. He went. I don't see where. Oh, there he went. 118. All right. Well, you know what? Let's double dip at the edge position. We're going to go with Jayshon Barham. I'm a fan of his. All right. Now, looking through these first 4 rounds, I think the next one, I'm just going to do 4 rounds. We've gone with the offensive tackle, Ian Acor. R. Mason Thomas was the edge. Julian Neal, the third cornerback. We haven't taken a wide receiver yet. I'm not sure we will, just the way the board's fallen out. So this is kind of the way things shake out in the first 4 rounds when you go offensive tackle. Right there, all right? Now I'm going to restart this thing. We're going to do 4 rounds again. More rounds, fast, New England. Let's do it. And all right, that's the game. Don't take. Are you kidding me? This is the one Blake Miller falls, and I'm not taking an offensive tackle here. Awesome. All right. Let's see. All right. Well, this one we'll go wide receiver in the first. All right. We're going to take Denzel Boston. Next one we'll go edge in the first. These next picks. It's an option I don't hate too. That's maybe what we'll end up doing. Let's see what's available to us at edge. Joshua Josephs, DDS, Derek Moore. All right, let's go ahead and take the tackle here. Let's go with Demetrius Crownover. He'll be the right tackle of the future here. And we're going to have to see what happens here at the edge position. All right. Derek Moore's there. We're interested in him. Jadarian Price, Justin Jolie, not a bad option. Let's go with Derek Moore. Now we've got the wide receiver, we've got the tackle, we've got the best on the board for these next 2 picks, right? Tight ends, Michael Triggs, interesting. Eli Raridan. Does seem like tight end is a spot for us. Oh, Zakee Wheatley. We've had him in. You know what? Let's do that. Let's go with Zakee Wheatley. And then I like Jalen Farmer right here. The draft, we don't take the offensive tackle in round 1. We ended up with Denzel Boston. Good receiver. Filled in the future right tackle Demetrius Crownover at 63. Edge player Derek Moore, big, powerful guy, not super bendy, but strong, able to line up and kind of get penetration on the inside as well. Zakee Wheatley, safety from Penn State. He'd be a good safety 3 to kind of learn behind Byard. And Jalen Farmer, we've talked about a number of times in this prospect, athletic, fast, right guard prospect. He would sit behind Onwenu for a year and then ideally make it so that they could move on from Onwenu if they so desired at the end of the season. So let's do one more. And this time we're going to take an edge in the first round. And we're going to take a tackle in the third round. That's going to be the goal here, regardless of how the board shakes out. All right. Edge in the first round, there's Akeem Mesidor, if that's your flavor. I'm not a super big fan of 25-year-old players in the first round. I do understand Akeem Mesidor is good, but you know what? I'm a big fan of Gabe Akis. You can call this a reach if you want. I don't think it is that much. And I would rather a player that's like 22 than a player that's like 25. Just you're going to get an extra 3 years out of that guy's career. Gabe Akis is the guy, I think, here. And I mean, you could make an argument for Zion Young, Malachi Lawrence, Akeem Mesidor. The point is we're taking an edge player here. I'm just taking the guy I like because it's my show. That's how it works. Hall of Fame Malachi Lawrence. That could be. Derek Moore failed his vert jump badly. Round 1 feels high for Delp. All right. We've got an edge, Gabe Akis. We're going to take our tackle in the third round, we decided. So let's check out the all. Now, Anthony Hill Jr., Keontae Scott, Oscar Delp, there's an option. It's a popular option. Jacoby Lane, Keelan Rutledge. We're not taking our tackle here. So you know what? Let's do Oscar Delp. If we went wide receiver, for me, it would be Jacoby Lane. I'm going to go with Delp here. And then our next pick is going to be our tackle. Jude Bowery, Austin Barber, Isaiah World, Drew Shelton. I'm going to go Jude Bowery here. That's just my preference. World had that injury. He's probably going to be out the year, I think. That would probably be my second preference there. I'm interested in Markel Bell too later on. And I know Travis Burke is someone we're interested in later on also. And now you kind of come to this spot in the fourth round where, again, you know, we're still looking for a safety. We're still potentially looking for a wide receiver. We picked up Oscar Delp, tight end. We've got the edge. We've got the offensive tackle. So we did get a pass catcher, even if it's not a wide receiver specifically. I like Kyle Lewis here. I like Landon Robinson here. Let's go with Landon Robinson. Malachi Fields already off the board at 124. Well, that was here. Up with Landon Robinson and Kyle Lewis, so I figured I'd pick them in one of these versions since they were there. But you know, watching how all three of these different versions of the draft work out, it kind of Demings I said was questionable. No. What do you mean questionable? Like they brought him in. He's super athletic. I don't remember what his RAS score was, but it was like a 9.9 or something like that. Very fast. He basically like aced everything. It was green flags across the board for Demings, the combine. I remember he was one of my players who had like 6 or 7 green flags. All right. We're done with that. Here. Camera on. No, Demings combine numbers were awesome, dude. Demings combine numbers were very good. I could probably, let me see. Let me see if I can find the RAS. I'm pretty sure I've got it here on my computer somewhere, and I think I can find it pretty quickly. It's here. Okay. Not there, but it might be there. Yep, got it. Oh, you mean like you thought it was, I mean, it's at the combine, dude. Like, everybody was measured by the same people. But yeah, at the combine, his combine numbers, his RAS 9.97. That's absurd. 6'1", 193, 10 plus inch hands, 32-inch arms, which is fine for corner, 4'4", 140, 153, 10-yard split, 42-inch vert, 11-foot broad. Like, that's absurd. That's ridiculous athleticism. Stephen F. Austin, small school, you're going to have a hard time finding tape on him. You're going to have a hard time finding relevant tape on him, finding NFL quality receivers that he is matched up against. I doubt there are any, actually. Let's see. Stephen F. Austin, 2025 game log. ESPN page. Let's see if I can pull up their schedule. Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks, by the way, if you're interested. All right, 2025. They're in the Southland Conference. They played Houston, Abilene Christian, Ross State, Cal Poly, McNeese, Incarnate Word, Nichols, Eastern Texas A&M, UT, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, Houston Christian, Lamar, Northwestern State, Abilene Christian, and Montana State. There were not a lot of NFL prospects come to us from those schools. Certainly not a lot of ones that are going to be drafted anyway. Did they play UTSA? Hold on. I just X'd out of it. Oh, it was University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Not even SA. It's RGV. UTRGV. Actually, kind of rolls off the tongue easier than SA. Anyway, yeah, so Charles Demings, he's an option late, round 6, round 7-ish. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, that's the show for today. We covered a lot of different topics, whether it be the free speech thing, whether it be the 18-game season. I want to hear your thoughts, though. Weigh in the comments. Do you think there should be an 18-game season? Are you looking forward to that? And how do you feel about the whole Travion Henderson thing? Do you think that he should kind of, just focus on football, or are you happy to see other voices in the space? NBA top 10. What's mine again? Off the top of my head, Michael, Bill, Kareem, Bird, Magic, Bird, LeBron, Kobe, Duncan, or Hakeem, Duncan. Who am I missing? Kobe 6, LeBron 7, Hakeem's 8, Duncan's 9, Oscar Robertson at 10. Oscar at 10. So yeah, Michael, Bill, Kareem, Magic, Bird, Kobe, LeBron, Hakeem, Duncan, Oscar. Shaq's not in there for me. Like, he was good. He was dominant. I'm not one of those guys who's like, oh no, Shaq was just big. No, Shaq had some moves, dude. He definitely had some moves. He had the nice hook. He had game from 10 feet in. Yeah, no, I agree with you actually, Michael. That's a totally great point. And I think that what's irritating about NFL right now is that it's hard to watch your team's entire schedule. There's some on Netflix or there are some on this service or that service. Pick one thing. I don't want to have to subscribe to four different services just to watch all the regular season games. That is a really great point. That's the best related point to this whole thing. Um, yeah, yeah, on the basketball top 10 thing, like Shaq, definitely talented, but an interior talent, a liability at the free throw line. The hack of Shaq thing was a liability. Like he's a great player. He's a top 20 great player all time for sure. I have a lot of respect for him. He's a massive, giant human being. He was on the Celtics when I covered them, and he's one of the few people that I've actually stood next to and felt small. Um, but just not top 10 for me. And Jokic maybe will be at some point in time. Again, I've not been like really following the NBA for probably 10 years. And a lot of that time has been when Jokic has been playing. Um, so, he might have made his way up there by now. I don't know. Not I don't have the most current opinions on the NBA, I guess, other than they shoot too many threes and take too many free throws. And I'm not a fan. Right. Um, but yeah, I don't like the way it's gone. I feel like it's like I didn't really care for college basketball when I was growing up because I felt like it was a lot of 3 points shots. And then the NBA has kind of gone that way where there are games in the NBA where a team will take 50 or even 63 pointers. There are games in the NBA. I saw one the other day where SGA took 26 free throws. That's fucking crazy. How are you supposed to watch that shit? You run down, jack up a three as fast as humanly possible, or you run down and get hacked and end up at the free throw line. Or you just flop and end up at the free throw line. It's just garbage basketball. It's hard for me to watch. It's so far removed from the days like the 90s when it's like dudes like Jordan, Clyde Drexler, guys like that were like bringing it in the paint and slamming it in the fucking face of guys like Ewing or like challenging dudes like Alonzo Mourning and Dikembe Mutombo and guys like that. It was like, dude, that was what I wanted to watch. That competitive fire. Like that's what the league lacks. Malone or Dr. J. Dr. J, just on the fact he didn't knock up a 14-year-old girl. Like it's hard to respect Malone a lot. Malone was a good player. Garnett, definitely. Garnett's not even close. KG is definitely like a top 20 player for me. Um, I'll do more basketball stuff in the summertime too. But anyway, look, that's going to do it. I got to get out of here. I got shit to do around the house. I thank you to everyone for showing up, sticking around, chatting in the comments. Let me know how you feel about these topics in the comments. Let me know which mock draft variation you preferred. Do you want to go offensive tackle in the first, second, or third round? Because I think there are valid points to be made for all of the iterations that we did today. And we'll do more of those in between now and the actual draft in just a couple weeks. All right. With that being said, this is the end of today's episode. Have a great day, everyone. I will be back tomorrow live, 9 a.m. with TJ Wenger. We're going to go through another first full round mock draft and you know compare and contrast the differences between last time when we got together a month ago and did this pre-free agency. So have a great day. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for tomorrow's episode. It's going to be a good one. I'm really excited about it. And Clint Goss, he's coming back on Thursday. That's going to be another great episode. We've got a good week planned out. Chime in the comments. Let me know what you think about today's topics. Have a great day, guys.